And love is hard work. Love is not what they show in the movies.
Letting go, yeah, it isn't easy. Two hearts slowly breaking. Living the highs and lows, I'm keeping busy. Don't know if we're worth saving. Are we meant to be, or are we second guessing? Would you stay with me if the world was ending?
My soul kicked in. I was like, what is good and to it? My name is Solow, and welcome to the SolowSays YouTube channel. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some time with me. You already know how this goes. If you do like my vibe, please do subscribe and like and leave a comment down below. I would truly appreciate it, because the love that you send to me, I send right back at you. But today's video, you can already see by the title, is a smudge bit different. You know, I've been speaking about quite a few things on my channel regarding religion and spirituality and all that good stuff. You already know. So I chose today to put on my unlicensed my unlicensed psychologist hat and just go for something a bit different in today's video. And today I want to speak about signs of a healthy relationship, or telling you what I have learned about what a really healthy relationship is all about. So if you are in the stage of your life where you are with somebody, you can use this maybe to advance the relationship, improve it where you can, and maybe just add some more substance to your relationship. But if you are single and ready to mingle, these are the tools that you should consider before entering any relationship. So if you do, or if you are interested in those type of things, stick around with me. But without further ado, let's get into it. So I want us to talk about healthy relationships, because with everything that is going on in the world, that I continue to say, I think it should just be my vibe right now, anything that's going on in the world. But like, people are not staying together. People are not learning how to work together and how to make foundations that can stand against the tests of times. And with everything going on, we have seen with the last year what happened, where people were in like heavy lockdown. You know, you got to see who people were, and you got to see what type of person you were. And I know last year I was in a relationship, but like that was different. You know, it was different. We were not married, so yeah, I can't be like we got divorced because of lockdown. But there were a lot of divorce rates that went up, and a lot of people separated because they were just like, this is not what I wanted. So based on the research that I have done and the stuff that I slowly started implementing in my life, I'm here to share what I have learned. Again, I need a disclaimer that says I am not a licensed practitioner in any way. I just come and vibe and chill and tell you what I have learned for myself. So I want us to firstly state that the first important thing that any relationship needs is two whole people that come together and become one. Now, in a lot of the relationships that I found myself were in the past, it was a whole lot of codependency. There was a whole lot of overcompensating. There was a whole lot of being unsure of oneself. So the first thing that I think is very important to make any relationship solid and you know, a good foundation to start at is two whole people coming together. When you are whole within yourself, you know what you want, you know what you do not tolerate, you know what you expect from those around you. And if two people who are self-assured and self-aware come together, that just helps with everything else that I'm going to mention. You need to firstly work on yourself and figure out who you are by yourself, and you need to stand on your own. A lot of the times we find ourselves in relationships where we ourselves, we do not know what we want out of life. We do not know what our needs are and what our wants are and what we desire in another person. And when we get with somebody, we are then met with the realization that this was not what I anticipated for my future. And a lot of people stay stuck, but a lot of people choose to cut the cord and walk away. So before you can even consider getting into a relationship, or if you are in a relationship, this is the perfect time to listen to my podcast. No, but this is the perfect time to start working on yourself as an individual. Because as much as a relationship is glorified in that sense that, okay, you my other person, you my better half, or you my person, you understand, we are just two peas in a pod. That is what society has continuously projected to us about systems and relationships that are warped in codependency and enmeshment. Whereas true solid foundations are based on two individuals that are strong. And sometimes what happens with you could be a person who is working on yourself, building yourself up, and you get with somebody who is codependent, stuck and stagnant. And if you have worked so hard on building yourself up, that relationship will not last, because at the end of the day, you will be moving forward and the other person will be staying where they are or moving backwards. And no healthy relationship requires two people moving in opposite directions. The next note I want to make is trust. Trust in a relationship is very important. In the past, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, I was a bit, not the best in my relationships when it came to trust. I had trust issues, and also now I'm still working on it. Like I said, this is a journey, and I am just coming to share what I have learned, but I'm continuously evolving and continuously growing and learning more about myself. But the thing that we sometimes all can struggle with is trust issues. We've grown up in relationships with families and friends where maybe trust was not at the foundation of those relationships. And there was a lot of things that were done to cause us pain. There was a lot of things that we saw that in relationships, we cannot trust people. We have to be deceitful. We have to be, sneaky. We have to do things behind people's backs. So in any relationship, we need to know that, okay, when I get with you, I can trust that this relationship is going to be fruitful. I can trust that you have the best interests for me. And if there's no trust in a relationship, there's no going forward. Because if I'm constantly, sus about who you are, everything is just going to be sus. And that does not leave room for healthy, fruitful experiences to grow, because we're always just on the lookout for someone who is going to backstab us. And another thing in spirituality, going a bit there, that as within, so without. You understand that you reap what you sow. If you are sowing seeds of mistrust within you, inevitably the world will give you that you fear, and it will come to you. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if your attention is based on someone backstabbing you and doing you dirty, 10 times out of 10, they're going to backstab you and do you dirty. But if you go into a relationship and you say, I'm willing to trust you and you can trust me that we are going to work together and we are going to have each other's best interests at heart, then that already just sets a solid foundation. The next one I want to talk about is communication. We have heard that a lot, that communication is key, and truly it is, but also communicating to actually understand what the other person is saying and actually listening to what they are saying. There are so many things on listening skills that we have to learn. And I remember in primary school, they spoke about listening skills and, listening skills. But truly, listening skills is a value that we should all have in life. So we need to communicate in a way that is not passive aggressive, that is not projecting, not the way that we might have grown up, giving people the silent treatment. I'm a very big silent treatment addict, I just go within and I go quiet. And I know sometimes when we're angry, we can't just come with the words like, sometimes it's just like, and that's how I find myself sometimes. But in many times in relationships, that is not conducive, because the other person will not know what you're trying to communicate in that moment, and it might be misunderstood. And that's how a lot of misunderstandings take place, that when we communicate, but we are not actively communicating, we are just speaking to each other, throwing words at each other. And also you need to know how to, speak in a way that is not harsh to the next person. That in a lot of times someone can say, I communicate, I tell him or her that they ain't this, they ain't that, I tell them that they can do this for me. But it's like, how are you choosing to communicate is a very important thing. I would hope that we are growing and we are evolving and we are realizing that we are responsible for self-soothing ourselves and for being emotionally responsible for ourselves. So when you're becoming an adult that is interacting with other adults, there comes a time where you have to put your emotional outbursts and your emotional instabilities and stuff aside, and you have to get to the table and be like, okay, this, that, and the third, and communicate in a way that is respectful and responsible and able to let the other person know that I'm not attacking you in my communication, but I am merely just expressing what this means to me or what this made me feel. You understand? And another thing, like I said, loving communication is very important. When you choose to communicate with someone, especially if you are in a relationship with them, it is very important to add love into everything that you do. Because when you are with someone, I would hope that you are with them for loving reasons. I mean, the world is wicked, like so many people do not have always love at the center of their intentions. But I would hope if you're watching this, you are someone who wants love and is seeking love. And also, how do you communicate with yourself? Because the way that you communicate with yourself will reflect directly on how you communicate with those around you. You need to be loving in your communication. It might not be easy, but taking that time sometimes to think that, okay, if I say this, what might it make this person feel? Now, for me, when I'm angry, you understand? When I'm angry, I want to be hot. That's how I'm open and transparent. When I'm angry, my mouth goes ahead of me. Like, truly, I see it there and I'm like, whoa, like my mouth really gets ahead of me. But I can't make that my excuse forever, because there's going to come a time where I'm going to have to take responsibility for the things that I say. And it's not going to be able to be, just, I'm sorry. It's going to need, full accountability for the words that were spoken. So communicating in love is very important. And like I said, listening actively is a skill that someone can be talking and being like, okay, you know what, when you came home late, this is what you did. And, we often poke fun at men who tend to listen passive, like, just like the girls usually, and then he's there like, I wonder what I'm going to do later today. And it's like, you see, but it can go both ways, because also sometimes I have to acknowledge within myself that when people are talking, I blank out. You understand? And that's not doing them justice, and it's surely not doing me justice, because what I sow, I will reap. So if I am listening to people just to be there and to hear what they're saying, but not actively listening and understanding to gain an understanding, it's not going to be fruitful in any shape or form. So when we talk about communicating healthy in relationships, it's about actively being there while the person is talking and allowing the person to be vulnerable. Whether you meet someone who, when they communicate, they got to drop a few tears. You understand? They got to get a bit of like, I feel like when you have to give them that time. You have to give them that space to be vulnerable and to communicate. Also sometimes when I communicate, I am a bit like emotionless in my communication. I tend to be more logical, but I also need to understand that some people cannot receive that type of communication. They cannot give that type of communication. Sometimes it has to be emotional, or vice versa. You're not going to get someone who's going to sit and cry with you. Sometimes that person wants you to logically explain some things to them so that they can gain that understanding. But in any way, shape, or form, we need to allow people to be vulnerably themselves in their form of communication. The next one I want to talk about is compromise and truly understanding what love is. So when we go into relationships, we know sometimes it's quick to say I love you, because endorphins and emotions and just feels are in the air. So it's very easy to look at someone and say I love you, and not truly understand what love is. I really I did the Bible, as you know, and in Corinthians, it kind of gives an outlay of what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not boastful. Love believes all things, withstands all things, hopes all things. And in the beginning of a relationship, it's easy, to compromise and be like, they snore a little bit, but it's so cute. 2 years into that relationship, how are you going to deal with that snoring? How are you going to deal with your partner's sleeping patterns? You understand? How are you going to deal with these things that are in a season you called cute? Maybe in a relationship right now, when you first got to know your partner, you loved that they were the life of the party. But now in your relationship, it's causing you some insecurities, which we need to work on, but it's causing some feelings inside of you. And now you have to come to that point of being like, have to compromise. They're not going to calm themselves down. And that's something, again, that I can relate to, that people often who meet me, see me, I'm talkative, I'm, laugh, lively and everything like that. And then later on in the relationship, it's like, are you always so, do you ever, and I could meet that and be like, how dare you tell me to change who I am? But if there's a partner who can communicate effectively, like, okay, listen, I get that you are this bubbly person and I am willing to accept you for who you are, but could we maybe compromise at times and, just approach this situation with a little more calm, you understand? So in relationships, yes, you understand, we are not there to try to change each other. We're supposed to love each other, and loving a person is loving them flaws and all. But sometimes it's about compromising. That, okay, you love to spend time, playing FIFA or playing whatever you do. And it drives me crazy because I feel like you're wasting time, on a video game. But I have to now compromise, you understand, and put my own desires and intentions aside a little bit and accommodate what you love because I love you. And love is hard work. Love is not what they show in the movies. Love is really not what they show in the movies. And it takes a lot of work and dedication that when you get into the relationship, you automatically understand that, okay, life is in the ebb and flow. There are ups, there are downs, but let us commit to compromising, to communicating, and to understanding that this is not an easy thing, but it is surely worth it because we both know that we do love each other. There is that feeling, but love without works is dead. You understand? It requires work as well. The next one, I did touch a bit of it in the first point, is loving yourself, being self-resilient, independent, emotionally stable for yourself, being able to take responsibility for your own emotions. When you enter a relationship with somebody, you cannot expect them to take on your baggage. And this was something that took me some time to realize and to learn from my lessons, that when you get into a relationship, it's not about, here's my bags, here's let me unpack all my emotional burdens on you and just let you take it. But it is also in relationships, we need to be there for the people that we care for. We need to be able to let them know that I will help you where I can. But the big chunk of the work needs to be done by yourself. And that's why I recommend, or in my podcast where I spoke about destigmatizing mental health, I recommend that everybody does something to advance themselves and to constantly be on top of things for themselves, because you cannot expect another person to carry your emotional burdens and baggages. There comes a time where you have to take it upon yourself and take accountability and be like, you know what? I'm having a bad day, I feel like my back is against the wall. I feel like, I could burst down. But just because I feel like that, I cannot expect another person to feel that with me. And that's where self-soothing and reparenting of oneself, because a lot of the times in the relationships that we've seen with our parents and with our family members, there's a lot of enmeshment. I can speak for myself that a lot of times people were going through their own personal things and then they ended up projecting it onto the rest of the family or onto the friend group. And that at the end of the day does not leave room for people to self-identify. Now we become a collective of people feeling what you feel. Just because you had a bad day, now all of us must have a bad day. But instead, we need to become adults and people who are like, I am having a bad day. It has nothing to do with you. But today I need time just to think for myself. I need time to feel for myself. I need time to come back to myself. And if we have people doing that, then we will have a lot more people not projecting negative emotions onto other people. You understand? I hope so. The next one is respect and honesty, even when it hurts. Respect and honesty in a relationship is very important. This is something that I truly put on top of my list sometimes, because if you do not respect me, you will never care about most of the things that go on in life. If you constantly just are going around trying to, act in a way that is selfish, and when you get to the root of it, it's because you don't respect your partner, that is not a healthy relationship. Respect is built over time, yes, but respect is making the decision to say that this is an individual that has a life, that is living, and I need to carry myself in a way that does not show this individual that they are not worthy of respect and of love. And what respect is could be different for many people. But when you get into a relationship with somebody, your morals and your values should most times align, because what respect could be for me could be totally different for another person. I know that, especially where I am, in a lot of African traditions, the women are called to respect the husbands in a way that is very submissive. But with things becoming progressive and us becoming people who, are a little bit, in the world, if I can say that, we want to be seen as equals. And if I equally respect you, I expect you to equally respect me, that do unto another as you want done unto yourself. And sometimes in relationships, in respecting a person, we have to tell them the truth and be honest with them that, yes, I respect you, and yes, this is the situation, but at the end of the day, this is what you have, this is how you acting in this way makes me feel, or this is how you doing these certain things affects me, you understand? Or this is how you could do a bit better for yourself. And it's because I respect you, I'm willing to come to you in a way and communicate effectively and actively listen to your response at the same time. So respect and honesty is very important. And it kind of comes back to trust. If I trust you and respect you, I will trust and respect that when you share how you feel about me honestly, that I'll be able to take it. Being honest also comes back to how the person is communicating to you. If someone says, I feel like you're dirty, I feel like you're just a dirty person. I feel like you're just a dirty person, and all you do is just make mess, and you go on and on and on about how this person is dirty and how you don't like them in your space. You understand? But instead, coming to them to a way, like, I want to be honest with you. Do you have the time? Can we communicate? Because there's something that I'd like to bring to your attention and I would like for us to work on. It's also having that mindset that it's us against the problem, not us against each other. Because at the end of the day, when you get with someone and you choose to combine your lives together, that you are a unit. And as a unit, everything outside of that unit is opposing you. So even if a person, for example, like me, is a bit loudly, you understand? I go out and I just talk and I vibe, and for some people, they don't like that energy. At the end of the day, you need to come to me knowing that it is us against that problem. And I need to be open to that communication of you expressing how you feel and accepting that vulnerability, that, okay, when you act in this way, it makes me feel like I need to overcompensate. And then I don't like that. So how can we tackle the issue, not us tackle each other? That is very, very important. The next one is boundaries and teaching. We have boundaries to teach people how we feel. For me, my boundary setting started last year when I actively started teaching myself about setting boundaries and what boundaries are. And boundaries are all about teaching people what we will tolerate and what we will not tolerate. Teaching them how to treat us. Now, at the end of the day, boundaries is not like you will not come over. Boundaries is communicating again in a way that is loving and saying that when you For example, don't pick up my calls. When I call you, you understand. After you said you are going to pick up my calls or whatever, it makes me feel this way. You understand? However you feel. And then communicating that, please, could you not do that in the future? If you say you are going to do something, could you please follow through? Or also, when you do this and that, I don't like it. This is how I feel. And I have a boundary, in place that says, when people act in this way, I cannot tolerate it. Because sometimes we get into relationships and we have standards, we have boundaries, and we're like, I won't tolerate this, I won't tolerate that. But because we ourselves are not whole yet, we start to tolerate a lot of things. For me, it was wasting my time. I don't like my time being wasted. You understand? Because I'm pretty open in my communicate. Like, I'm learning more and more, but I'm pretty open in what I want about myself now that I know my boundaries. I'm pretty open in what I don't tolerate. But if you are a person who is like constantly ignoring the fact that I'm asking, please don't waste my time, and you constantly waste my time, that already is you overstepping my boundary. So we need to learn ourselves and learn what we can and cannot tolerate, so that when a person enters our lives, or when we are with someone, we are able to communicate openly, like, okay, this is what it is for me, this is what it ain't. And if you cannot meet me there, then unfortunately I have to choose myself and choose to walk away. Now, walking away is not the first thing that I want to get out there, because sometimes when the chips are down, we want to run, but when the things are, happy-go-lucky, we there for the party. But sometimes it's when you continuously trying to communicate that, I don't like you wasting my time, I don't like you playing with me, I don't like mind games, constantly, but they continuously do that, then unfortunately that is trading into territory of a toxic relationship. The next one is effort. Be mindful of your partner's needs and be thankful and show gratitude and appreciation. In any relationship, it requires people who are willing to do the work. This is something that I also touched on previously in my previous point, that you have to know that relationship takes hard work and dedication. You choose that, okay, this is the relationship that I want, and I take the responsibility of a relationship. Relationships, yes, it's all fun. We go on the gram, we can see people who are posting, beautiful pictures in the safari, they are having the best time, but we don't know what happens behind closed doors. We cannot glorify other relationships just on their highlights, but we need to know that when the door shuts, and on those boring days, on those days where you don't really feel attracted to your partner, you need to know that effort needs to be placed in continuously going back to the drawing board and asking yourself, what can I do to improve this relationship? How can I show my partner that I appreciate them? And it shouldn't stop after the first 3 months of romance, because that's the honeymoon stage. But what are you doing in the second year of your relationship? A person is continuously evolving. Relationships are continuously growing. But if you are stuck on the same old cycles and patterns of doing the bare minimum, how do you expect your relationship to become fruitful? How do you expect your person and your partner to fall deeper and deeper in love with you? Because there are people in their 60s who've been married for 40 years and they can still look at their partner, which I admire, and they can still look at their partner and say, wow, just yesterday I found another reason to love them, and it's constantly doing that and showing your partner that you appreciate them, because everybody loves I'm so thankful for you. I'm so grateful for the fact that you are in my life. And, it costs nothing. Sometimes we think we are paid up with the devil. How I can't even tell you I appreciate you because I just can't. You understand? But this person is the person that you're choosing to love. This is the person that you're choosing to build a relationship with. So why wouldn't you want that person to feel on top of the world? You understand? Because when two people are in good spirits, it just makes whatever you've got going on in better spirits. If you feel what I'm saying, if you catch what I'm spelling, you understand? Love who your partner is unconditionally and support them. Sometimes we get into relationships and we are tricked by the glamour and the glory of what a person presents to us. The Instagram profile, the little bit of this, the little bit of that. But once you get to know a person, layers and layers start to peel like onions. I don't know if you've watched the series on Showmax, but it's The White Lotus. And that one lady who's a bit like, ecstatic emotionally, she was like, I just want to show him the onion. I just want to peel the onion and get to the core. And that's kind of the true people who we are. It would be so unfortunate if you continued to put on a pretense in your relationship, and then when things start to really get serious, the person wants to engage, you are then met with the realization that I don't know this person, and this person doesn't know who I am because I haven't showed them who I am. So when you enter a relationship, I think it's very important to let the person know that whatever it is, I'm going to take it. If you've got a bit of crazy, I'm here for it. If you've got a bit of this, a bit of that, let's work together on it. And it is supporting your person. Again, I am quite young, and whoever I date, I'd hope that they'd have an understanding that in 2 years, my life could be totally different. But just because I'm constantly changing and going with the flows and the waves of life, I hope that they wouldn't love me less. So in any relationship, you need to accept that people are not perfect. There is nobody perfect in this world, but continuously accepting and loving their imperfections. And this is a chance to plug my podcast. I recently put out a podcast of Loving the Inevitable You, where I talk about people embracing themselves in the skin that they're in. Never am I saying let's not try to do better and change and evolve, but the journey of loving oneself starts now. So when you can love yourself for who you are, flaws and all, you can then love another person for who they are and continuously support them in evolving and getting better, because any good relationship is about two individuals trying to build each other up as they build themselves up independently. And then know how to resolve conflict. Again, when I was saying it's us against the problem, not us against each other. There are some people, like myself, I get a bit loud when I am in a confrontational situation, but sometimes I could come across someone who is more passive, more calm in the communication skills. So then we need to have an understanding that when we are going through something, how are we going to handle this? And continuously being aware that, okay, I am now being triggered because I am aware of my emotional state, and I am reliant. I can see that something is being triggered in me. Let me choose to communicate. Let me choose to do this. What have we put in place that helps us face the problem? A lot of the times, we want to scream, we want to fight, we want to cuss, we want to shout, we want to throw people out, and the problem never gets resolved. It just gets brushed under the rug. And we know that dust is gonna have to come up at some point. So in the beginning of the relationship, or wherever you are right now, having that conversation that says, listen, when you, excuse my French, piss me off, like, this is what I think we should do. You understand? Because I'm a very angry person. So I think when we are in, the heat of the moment, it's best if you leave and I go my own way for a little bit, but we must come back together and discuss this and have good communication. You understand? To resolve the issue. You understand? So knowing how to combat, relationship problems and stuff like that is very, very important, because trust me, you're gonna fight. Relationships are not going to be rosy and pulls and dust, continuously. And when I have seen a lot of people who stayed married through the thick and thin of relationships, and I've seen that it is people who are able to humble themselves, knowing that you are not my enemy, but the problem is our enemy. And this is how we are going to overcome that enemy. You understand? And lastly, everything starts with you. So I want to conclude by bringing it back to, it is you that is whole, that can make a relationship whole. It is not two halves coming together to make one, but it is two ones coming together to make a unit. So if you have not learned how to self-soothe, heal your inner child, reparent yourself, do the self-love that you need to do, heal and come to an understanding of who you are, another person will never be able to do those things for you. There will always be something lacking and you will always be coming up short. So in this season, as we are changing and we are growing and we are becoming adults, we are adults and in relationships, we have to take every opportunity at our grasp to do the right thing. And that is to start loving ourselves, healing ourselves, investing in ourselves. Because as deeply as you have met yourself, that is as deeply as you can meet another person. So yeah, that's the things that I have to say about a healthy relationship. I hope that this video enlightens you and it informs you about some things that you should carry into all the relationships of your life to help them grow. And you know what? We are on a journey. These things do not happen overnight or over weeks or sometimes months, years, but it is ever trying, ever growing, and ever evolving. So yeah, that's all Solow has to say for this YouTube video. If you do like my vibe, please do subscribe and like and leave a comment and maybe some advice that you could share. But if not, you were just listening and taking notes, I hope, then thank you so much for choosing to spend some time with me. But yeah, wherever you are in the world, I hope that you have a lovely day and that you remember that you are a blessing to yourself and to those around you.